Welcome to Management 280 Online. My name is Dr. George Mochocki. We'll be covering Chapter 9, which is Teamwork and Groups. Open up your mind maps because this will be in conjunction with a Blackboard course you're taking with me. So we're going to go in here. Let me go in here. I already have this set up. So the first thing you have to know about when reading the chapter from an organizational perspective, that there's two types of groups within an organization. You have your formal group, which basically is everything else formed by organizations, your memos, authority, and everything else. And you have your informal group, friends and everything else. Within a company, the formal group is what I can control. The informal group is what I can't really control within an organization, but I know how to access an informal group and use the informal group to help me achieve my goals and requirements. So what you can do, it's going to talk a little about organizations, to complete tasks, generate new ideas. It's all underneath the formal and organization. Individual. When an individual belongs to an organization, he or she needs to satisfy affiliation, self-esteem, everything else you've learned from previous chapters with Maslow and Herzberg. Okay, then we'll have table 9. It's a little bit too small. You can look in the book. The thing about the groups, whatever you have to understand is part of the culture is how do groups form? Because when I understand how groups form, when I have different teams and everything else, when I do my training and when I set up my groups, I always have to make understand that groups take a certain process to develop. So first of all, they go through stage 1. No different than look at if you meet someone, if you the first group. In the stage 1, what you're basically looking at is groups tend to be uncertain what's going on. They don't know the roles. They're uncertain about who the individuals are in charge. So basically, in the first forming stage, we get to meet everyone, just like we did in this online class. When you go into the second stage, so after you finish and you know everyone else, you kind of, for the first date or the first activity within the group, everybody's doing pretty good. Now, when we go into the second stage is the time of testing. Now, individuals trying to say, hey, who's in charge? Where do I fit into the group? What is my role? And sometimes you may have some procrastination. So in this stage, if you're the team leader or the group leader, you have to understand the stormy stage is now you've met the person, you've been in a group, now your real personalities actually come out. Okay, so that's the stormy stage. And now after you pass the stormy stage, you go into the norming stage. In the norming stage, everyone knows the roles, everyone's kind of working, but you're not really achieving or performing your best, but you know how to work together and you know your limits or your boundaries around within the group, which is where you want to be. Now, after you finish this stage, you go into what we call the performance stage. Now everyone knows the roles and everything else, and they're basically focusing on certain tasks, the climate, open communication, strong cooperation, and lots of behavior, working well together. So this is really good when you go in a performance stage. Now after the group has finished its goals, achieved its objectives, and you may have some journey. Now sometimes the group still may be a group that's continually on, but different members come in and come out. So during the adjourning stage, what you want to do is the job is done for the task that was accomplished, time to move on to other things. You have a party or some kind of recognitions, who helped out through the group, how did we do? So when you look at this stage here in this group development stage, as a manager, I have to understand every time I bring someone else in, the group is reforming, and it's going to end up to a storming stage, and then they'll normal out, and then it goes to performance where I really want them. That's when my objectives and I can meet my goal. I could push the group, and it'll achieve more than is expected, hopefully. And then adjourning, again, people leave the group, someone retires or they move someplace else, get promoted, and new people come in. So the people that have done well with the group, I help them out. Now, if you don't understand at each stage, you have to, as a team leader, you have to be aware that no matter what, each group or each activity, every time something happens, goes through these stages. You as a supervisor, you as a manager or the team leader have to be able to manage the team and everything else in all the things. Look at it as a date. People who, people who are going together for a long time. They go to the forming, they have the storming, the normal, they begin to work as a team or as a couple, and then basically sometimes they'll break up, but they'll break up either upset or they'll break up in a good format. But what happens, some people never get out of the storming state. So if your group is always fighting, you're never going to make the performing state. So you have to be able to understand that. Now, when you have your groups, as a leader, you should be able to identify certain roles and behavior within the group. And that's usually done in this forming stage where you say, here's our roles, here's our expectation. Then you give the task roles. Who's the initiator? Who comes up with the new ideas? Someone's the originator. Someone's the energizer. Each person in the group will have different functionality to help the group maintain. You should identify these leaders or if not, try to stimulate so those tasks are done. Now, you have another group that the author talked about is the maintenance role. It's relationship building. So there's certain roles of certain individuals that will basically bring the relationship, and usually it's the leader or the person in charge. And he or she keeps the group together, okay? And then on this page you have everything else. Now, the norms. How norms are developed, and they're basically critical paths, privacy, first behavior of the group is set by the tone. If I look at the norms, within these first two stages, the forming and storming, your norms should be developed in the forming, so when it gets into storming, you can minimize any kind of a storming because people already know what the rules are or the roles are. Okay, so we have to take care of that. Within the group, the norms are enforced by either the team, by peer pressure, or the leader. So make sure you understand that portion. Remember, this is part of the job of every group goes through the same kind of a sequence. Now, when you look at teams, a small group of people that come together, team building exercise, usually at the beginning in this norming forming stage is when you try to build a team. And you're looking at different teams. What does each member bring into the team? Now, when I look at the 3 C's of team players, the team players have to be committed to the group, to the goal, to the organization. They have to collaborate within each other to help each other. It's not me or you, we're a team. It's not I, we work together as a team. Even though we have our own individual duties or a task that we have to do, we still work as a team, and all members have to be competent. If for some reason they don't make the 3 C's, some team members will be removed from the team and other team members will be brought in. Now, when you look at the team, the rationale of a team is that they have to trust each other. So you'll look at the 3 dimensions: overall trust, emotional trust, and reliability. So when you look at all these 3 attributes are important to developing trust. Now, 5 ways to build the trust is through communication. So you're always communicating. You have to be, if you have a person who's not talking in a group, you have to bring him or her out. I mean, it doesn't mean they may be thinkers but not talkers. They have to be, you have the rest of the members, if you're not saying anything, I don't really know, do you agree with me? Do I trust you? And trust is by support, respect, fairness, predictability, and competence. All these things is how you build trust in a team. Now, when you look at a lot of teams, self-managed teams, basically when you're going to go into a lot of companies, you look at cross-functional teams, indirect influence, and effectiveness. Self-managed teams, if I look at cross-functional, you come from different areas, different functionality. So when we looked at diversity and everything else, we're looking at cultural. Now, I'm an accountant. I'm a salesperson. I'm coming from marketing. I may be customer service. We all have different kind of attributes and different skill sets. Now we're going to have to put them all together. So when we go back into this forming thing, that's when all these different groups and everything else have to understand their roles, how they pertain to the group. So when we go into the storming stage, and sometimes the storming stage, you may have some conflict because of this, what do you call it, manager or cross-functional influence, indirect influence that you could resolve in that stage, okay? Now, when you look at virtual teams, most businesses now are in the virtual teams. This classroom is a virtual team that you're taking online. You have some face-to-face, but most of it is virtually communication. So how do I use technology? You have Skype, you have various discussion boards, you have various blogs or things set up within the company, or distant learning meetings where you can come in and have video meetings. So all this makes me as a virtual team. I'm still in the face-to-face, but most of our activity, because of all the traveling and costs and everything else, and technology allows us to never move the office, but bring people into the office through, just like I'm communicating to you now. If we had a two-way communications, which the new Blackboard will be coming through, we could communicate real time and never leave our office and still see the other person. Now, when I look at threats to team effectiveness, so groupthink, this is the biggest thing. After a while, as a group, we begin to anticipate what the other person is going to think, or we don't challenge a person anymore because if he or she is always correct. That may not be the case. You have to look at the devil's advocate, or individuals that are going to challenge the team, because groupthink is, we're talking about collaboration, but if we all start thinking as one, we're no longer give us that diversity or that flexibility. We may be mistakes because we're not testing or challenging each other, saying, hey, that doesn't make sense. Even though you've always been right, but on this one, I think I'm going to challenge you or question you. Remember, in business and organization, we want to always not to be disrespectful. So I go into the storming stage, but I want to be in this performing stage. So to be in the performing stage, I have to make sure that we're not always agreeing, but challenging to make sure. So that's why a lot of times the group will bring different members in to test the group out. Symptoms of group things, when you look at all this, that we're invincible, rationalization, a stereotype opposition, self-censorship. Hey, we're a team. We don't want anyone to know that we're dysfunctional, for lack of better words. All this basically, or peer pressure, you have to go along and with the rest of the group. So, and make sure you're aware of these different symptoms of groupthink. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about social loafing. Social loafing is an individual, because we are in a group and we have very energized people within the group. Some people are going to say, hey, I'm going to slack off because the whole group's going to be penalized. So I don't have to do no work or any work or very little work because my other team members are all self-motivated. Just because I don't do it, they have the pride and they have the willpower to do the work, and I'm just going to take the credit for it. So, and the other thing is, if we make a mistake or something else, like to say, it wasn't me, it was the team. So when I look at social loafing, you have to be able to be honest with yourself. You have to be still be part of the team member, but what you want in the teams, when you're assigned to cross-functional or matrix types of teams, you're assigned for different viewpoints, different diversity, different ways of looking at it, different ways of approaching a problem. So when you finally come up with your goal and achieve your mission, you, for lack of better words, have the best product because you've tested everything else. You've had people from other disciplines looking at it, and you now have what I would call a well-oiled machine. So make sure with the social loafing, it's the job of the team leader to see which individuals are not performing to their expectations. Remember, this isn't like in a lot of teams, it's either if you're working in my team and you're part of the department and you're not doing your work, you're fired or unhired. In a cross-functional team, you're replaced with another person. Remember, if you are in a team and the team leader, even though you have another supervisor because you from a different department, but you're assigned to this team to resolve an issue, if that team leader states that you are not pulling your weight and he wants you replaced, you're replaced like that. You go back to your home team. That is a black mark against you and other members that in the team. Remember, when you have a cross-functional team, when you're working in these team groups, just because your boss or supervisor isn't there doesn't mean he or she isn't reporting to your immediate supervisor that you're assigned to. So when you look at this, to be on this group thing, it's an honor. It's a privilege, and you also increase your network. You get to talk to other people within different organizations, and you get to know other people that you might have not known. So you may not ever work for that department, but if you need a favor or if you need a contact person, you already know how they're thinking. So if you had to present a solution or a problem, you know what their rationale is, okay? So this is part of teamwork. Going forward in organization, this is the backbone of a lot of companies. You have to be a team player. You can't always have it my way. It's not as a leader, you are judged on how effectively your team works. Again, so look at this. The main ideas that I want you to focus in on for this whole thing is the different stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. If you could grasp this and understand that any one of these stages could upset the team, and if the team is fighting, you're not going to do well. The Blackhawks won the championship. They won it as a team, not just one member that was good that keeps on getting a goal. All members, if the opportunity is there, they work as a team, like a group coming in against their opposition, and that's how they won. They didn't win it by individual. Each individual was strong. Both teams are very strong, but they basically were in the performing state. And then when they finally won, they're at the journey stage. They celebrated everything else that they reached the task. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Management 280, and we're Chapter 9 in teamwork and groups. And this is an interesting chapter, and we'll see you for the next time. Again, this is Dr. George Mochocki, Management 280, Organizational Culture, offered by Harper College Online. Goodbye. Let's see time.